Contribution of ancient India has been highly overrated. India has not significantly contributed to the world technology. And somebody went on to say, the entire Indian education system can be reduced to one book kept on the shelf of London Library. These are not my words. These are the words of the Westerners and the constant propaganda that they have created against India and the great civilization of India. Do you believe in these words? That India has not contributed anything significantly to the world of science and technology? I don't believe in it, and I don't think you will also believe in it. And I dare them to say this thing again, because there has been proofs and innumerous proof that India was one of the great civilizations of the world, and its contribution can never be discounted. Moreover, what do I say? These are the words of William Dalrymple, who is a Western scholar, an author, well-known, renowned author, whose origin is in Scotland. And his new book, The Golden Road, has unraveled these all myths which has been created by the Western world. He has busted some of the myths. अभिवादन स्वीकार कीजिए नीरज राव का कल्चर क्वांटम के इस अध्याय में. And this episode is all about how ancient India transformed the world. So what Scottish author William Dalrymple has to say about India? He said that India was the base of the civilization of the world. It was also the base of scientific inventions of the world. India was the heart of the forgotten ancient world. Then he also went on to say that India was the most important link in the global trade. And India was very advanced, so as in metallurgy. This is just to name a few, but then he also has to say a lot about it, for which you can refer to his book also. But let's explore that really what was so great in India from the ancient time, and what has been an inspiration and motivation, and moreover one catalyst for Western world to follow. In fact, many of the things of the Indian civilization has been imitated by the Western world, or maybe this has been hijacked from India through Arab world to the Western world, and now they claim it as their own. It's not like that Western world hasn't recognized the contribution of the Indians in the field of science and technology. They have given some sort of recognition, but it's kind of a cherry picking. So basically, those people who have worked in the Western world and they are under the tutelage of some of the Western people, so then they have perfectly given the recognition to the persons. The best example, the great mathematician from India, Srinivas Ramanujan, and he was working under his professor Hardy in the Cambridge University. So he has been given credit for what he has contributed to the world of mathematics. But when it comes to the pure origins in India and the theories and the theorems and the inventions and innovations which entirely happened on the Indian land, Western world has been quite negligent to it. In fact, they have tried to hijack, and they have successfully hijacked many of the things. So in this particular episode, we are going to explore that what was so great in India. So let's count one by one what all places. Whenever the contribution of ancient India is talked about by any of the dignitaries of India or any high office authority of India, so many a times it is condemned by the Western world, and sometimes they call it the science circus. For example, a few years back, our Prime Minister made a statement that first example of cosmetic surgery, maybe it was in India, and he gave example that when Lord Ganesha's head was cut, so it was fixed with the elephant head. That might be a mythological example for some of you, but for many of us, it could be a true example. And then moreover, just understand that any invention, what is the life of invention? Life of invention is all from creation of an idea, and then the hypothesis of that particular invention, and then it finally, through many such tests and retest, it comes to reality. So if we had to believe that India did not contributed towards this cosmetic surgery thing, but on the hypothesis level, it was there in India, and that is the very first base of any invention. Moreover, let's go into the other examples also. Once upon a time, there was one more example which was quoted, that in the literature like Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas, there is a mention of the Pushpak vimaan. And moreover, can't we say that this is an inspiration to the today's aviation industry or aircraft industry? Or 7,000 years back, Indians had a little bit of knowledge that things do fly, aeroplanes can be created, aircrafts can be created. So this cannot be denied because the textbooks are older than the invention of the aircrafts itself. Apart from it, in Mahabharata, there is a mention of Kauravas. 100 Kauravas got generated with a loaf of flesh, which the rishis divided into 100 parts and they were incubated in some pots. And then after 100 Kaurav brothers emerged from it. Maybe it is magical, but on the level of the ideation, it is what we call test tube baby, putting the questions aside. Let's come to the concrete examples. The examples which are really existing about the contribution of India to the ancient world. Then moreover, a good number of the Jain Munis in between 500 BC to 1000 AD have contributed a lot towards mathematics. One of the great mathematicians of India was Bhaskaracharya, and so as the Brahmagupta. Then apart from it, nobody can forget about the contribution of the Aryabhatta. So when it comes to contribution of Indians towards the world of mathematics, many foreigners, including some of us, make a disparaging remark many a times that contribution of India towards the world of mathematics is zero. Jokes apart, but it's very serious. Zero was one of the biggest inventions of the mathematical world. And moreover, I know that very few of us know that in fact, the alpha-numeric system, in the beginning, it was all called as the Indian-Arab alpha-numeric system. And in fact, before it could be invented in the Western world, the numeric system, all from 1 to 9, it all developed in India. And it has been very well documented in many of the layers of the Indian history. The contribution of Indians to world of mathematics is not just limited to this numeric system, but also we came up with the idea of the rectangular, square, so as the algebra, so as the trigonometry, so as decimals, and so as logarithms and equations of the factorial nature. So these all developed in India, but then later on in the Western world, when it has gone, it was given many such new names like Pell's theorem, Diophantine theorem, or maybe Pythagoras theorem. But it's been there in the Indian civilization from very long time. Now, another thing that when it comes to weights and measures, the first evidence of perfect proportioned weights and measure is documented in Indus Valley civilization. And it is one of the best contribution of India towards the world of mathematics. Moving on, not just mathematics, but in many of the fields. Consider that if there would not have been India, there would have been lesser development at this point of time. So moving on to India's contribution towards the metallurgy. The first zinc smelting site in the world has been documented in India, and that is Java in Tiri Valley of Rajasthan. There has been mentions of the alchemy in many of the Indian texts like Rasratnakar, Sarnav, and in fact, Nagarjun was one of the renowned expert of the metallurgy. Apart from it, even in Magadh, where the abode of iron mine was there, they were the one who were able to create sharpest tools from iron. And from here onwards, iron became one of the most important metal to be used for the benevolence and also the benediction of the humanity. If we have to talk about the India's contribution to astronomy, there has been well-documented contributions of the Varamihir, who wrote Panchasiddhantika and Brihat Samhita. Moreover, he also proposed crowd formation theory. Apart from it, it was Aryabhatta who correctly predicted that Earth rotates on its own axis. So these contributions cannot be discounted, and overlooking this statement saying that India has not contributed anything, I think this would be the one of the biggest lie. But let's move on. The contribution of India is not just limited to it. Let's come to the atomic physics. So before the atomic physics could develop, the first person to theorize the concept of the atom was in India, and his name was Kanad. His original name was Alokya, but he was so much interested in the study of the particle of the Kad, which we call in English language as atom. was Kannada. And moreover, he's the one who was the founder of the Vaisesika philosophy. So his theorization that atom is the smallest indivisible, indestructible part of the universe was very much closer to the foundational principles of the modern day physics. Moving on further, apart from the astrology, astronomy, mathematics, there are many other fields. In the world of medicine and the corrective healing, nobody is unaware about the Indian practice of Ayurveda and so as the yoga. Even UNESCO has recognized the importance of yoga, and yoga has been included in the list of the intangible heritage. Moreover, the Vedic chantings of India are considered to be so scientific that they are very helpful in opening many of the temples of the brain and activating many of the inactive parts of the brain. So if you do not believe, you just search on Google St. James Preparatory School in Britain, where the Britishers are learning Sanskrit in the very initial stage. Or basically, it is better to say that many of the British people, they try to enroll their children in St. James Preparatory School, and where only Vedic chanting is taught, Sanskrit words are taught, so that their cognition ability will develop faster, and moreover, they will be more intelligent as compared to other. So Sanskrit itself is a very scientific language. So as we mentioned, that in the world of the medicine, Indian Ayurveda has a one big contribution. And there are n number of the ailments which are completely corrected by the Ayurvedic remedies. For example, I myself have seen this thing. It's not like that I'm a bit bumptious about it, but I'm telling you that what was the effect of it? That sinusitis. Even the allopathic medicines are not very helpful, but Ayurvedic remedies like Nashyam, it is very helpful in these situations. So maybe some places where allopathic medicine is not helpful, Ayurveda helps. So it is an alternative way of healing, an alternative way of regaining the normalcy in the human life. Moving on further, surgery. So was surgery first done in the western part of the world, or is there any document or is there any evidence of the surgical things done in India? If you consider the example of Lord Ganesha was mythological, but then what about the Sushrut, who has mentioned in Sushrut Samhita about the ophthalmic surgery, rhinoplasty, that is a nose reconstruction surgery, and there is a skin grafting technique is also mentioned. So plastic surgery was also very much mentioned. In fact, he went on to mention about the 99 surgical instruments. So even surgery was also very much practiced in the ancient India, documented in the Sushrut Samhita. Another very important contribution of India is to the world of the culture. And India has been connected with many parts of the world from the ancient time. If there would not have been the interconnection of the Indian culture with the many parts of the world, there would not have been the biggest Buddhist monument at Borobudur in Indonesia. Similarly, the same can be said about the Angkor Wat temple in Cambodia, which was created by Suryavarman and dedicated to the Hindu god Lord Vishnu. Then apart from it, that Indian tradition of Ramayana is very much prevalent and it is very much popular in many parts of the world. For example, there is a version of Ramayana in Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, and many other parts of the world. Even in Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, some version of Ramayana is popular. And it is an ancient text, but it is popular in these parts of the world itself is very good example that how well India was connected to the world, and it was the heart and the soul of the global network. Moving on further, when it comes to one of the intellectual games of the today's time, what is it? Chess. Chess is considered as the game of the intellectuals, but where we do find the initial example of the chess game, it's all mentioned in India. It was all there in India, and the name of the game was Chaturanga. So Chaturanga was the initial base of the chess, and later on even foreign scholar Robert Kaplan has said that chess can be traced back to India, maybe 2000 years back. As far as the world of trade is concerned, India was the heart and soul of the global trade, and William Dalrymple in his book Golden Road has mentioned that it was not the China which dominated the Roman trade, but it was India which dominated the Roman trade. In fact, large number of the commodities from India like spices, textile, ivory, elephant, wild beast who were displayed in Italy's Colosseum, they were all imported from India to these all places. And moreover, the Roman gold and the Roman silver was all getting drained to India. And that's why Roman historian Pliny the Elder went on to say that India has become the sinkhole of the most precious metal of the world, that is gold. So these were only few examples of ancient India's contribution towards the world of science and technology. But then there are many, and we all need to explore and we all need to propagate to the people who don't know that what has been the significant contribution of India. So please don't let this effort go in vain. Whenever you come across any propagandist idea, please counter it. And Culture Quantum will keep on posting these kind of videos and making you aware about India's contribution to the world. Till then, very thank you to all of you. And please don't forget to share, subscribe, like, and comment on the channel Culture Quantum. Your love is very much necessitated. Till then, thank you.